Let me just say this, because I have quite a monologue. I spent about 3 hours on about 1 o'clock in the morning. I started it. And I will tell you, maybe some anger therapy might have been better. But I took it all out on a monologue, and I'm going to unleash that onto all of the, onto some people that I actually still refer to as friends. I just don't know what the hell people are thinking. But let's start with why this war is not Iraq, and yet why it terrifies me. First of all, I hate war. I used to be, in my youth, a little more war happy, because I wasn't going to fight it. And, we should do that. And we should go and we got to police the war. No, we don't have to do any of that. We shouldn't do any of that. And I have learned from, my first 30, 40 years of my life that what I was for was absolutely wrong. The State Department was wrong. The neocons were wrong. All of them wrong. For one, it's not only wrong for America, but it is also, I've seen too many people come home broken or not come home at all. And those who do come home, nobody seems to care about them. And I just think it is absolutely abhorrent the way we treat our soldiers. And I've watched our country send generation after generation off to foreign battles with no clear ending, many times no clear enemy. Tell me who our enemy was besides Osama bin Laden for 20 years. Who was our enemy? Well, it's the ideology of, what is that ideology? You can't even say it. And then we were told that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. We were told we can't afford to wait, and so we went. And in the end, whether you believe the cause or not, it became another drawn-out conflict, another wound in our national spirit, and far too many American families were touched by it. And once again, the world is holding its breath. Israel yesterday struck Iran hard, precisely, and quietly. And before the screaming starts from the headlines, the chambers of the UN, the cable news panels, let's stop and ask ourselves a few hard questions, shall we? First of all, is this America's war? The answer is no. Should we be there fighting it? Answer, no. Has Israel asked us to fight their war? Answer, no. Is this another Iraq, or is it something entirely different? Well, let me tell you what makes this moment unlike anything else we have faced before. First, this was not a call to war. This was not a land invasion. This is not a campaign to topple a regime and then sit around for 20 years trying to rebuild a culture that doesn't want what we have. Even though Iran, the Iranian people are good people, the Persians are great people, and they do want a life like ours. But this was targeted. This was surgical. This was preemptive. Not against an idea, not against a guess, against the very real, very stated intentions of a regime run by men who do not think like we think, okay? They do not want what we want. We choose life. They literally choose death. That is as clear as it is. Do you choose life or do you choose death? That is a culture of death. So I want to start with the clerics of Iran, the ayatollahs, the supreme leader, the mullahs, the puppet masters of the so-called Islamic Republic and their Sharia law. I have said this for years and years and years. If you don't understand this, you don't understand Iran. These are 12ers. They are followers of a branch of Shiite Islam that believes not just in the return of the messianic figure called the Mahdi, but also that his return can and must be, in their words, hastened or accelerated. And the only way to do that is to, quote, using their words, wash the world in blood. Okay, I think I'm out at that. That's my first stop on the train, and I'm like, I'm going to get off here, please. Let me say this again. The highest religious leader who actually is in charge of the entire country, the one who commands the Revolutionary Guard, who fund the terror groups by Hezbollah and Hamas, the ones who train children to chant death to America in the streets, believe the world must be engulfed in destruction and flames to usher in the end times. And they mean that the same way we mean that. and that this is the regime trying to build a nuclear bomb. Now, I have a problem with this because I've been talking about this since 2000, maybe 2002. Oh, they're very close to a bomb. They're very close to a bomb. You know, I stopped listening to John Bolton a long time ago. It was a kind of cute little oldie thing that he was, he'd bring up once in a while, but I don't know if they were close to the bomb. I don't know if anybody knows they were close to the bomb. Maybe. I will tell you what Benjamin Netanyahu told me in like 2010. I had a meeting with him, and I'm like, are they close to a bomb? He said, I don't know, but when we believe that they are truly close to a bomb, it doesn't matter what the world will say. We will go in and do it ourselves if we have to. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Okay, so they want a nuclear bomb because they want to wash the world in blood. Now, contrast that with the doctrine of mutually assured destruction that has kept peace between nuclear superpowers for over a half century. The Soviets, they didn't want to die, okay? The Chinese Communist Party, they don't even want to die. Even North Korea, as crazy as that fat dude is, he doesn't want to lose power and his life. But Iran, they're not afraid of death because they got all those virgins coming their way. They see martyrdom as a promotion. They don't want to win a war. They want to ignite the good old end of days. So ask yourself, what happens when those beliefs collide with the power of a nuclear warhead? And by the way, you should answer this now because we're going to have to answer this when France topples to the same kind of radicals and when England topples to the same kind of radicals. Do we go in and get their weapons? Because you do not want these regimes with nuclear weapons. Now, with all of that said, I don't want my son going off to war. I don't want America, again, to play the policeman or be dragged into another theater of blood and sand. Enough is enough. It doesn't work. But I also do not want to be the father who has to tell his children, yeah, we saw it coming. I knew what they believed. We saw what they were building, but we didn't do anything, because, who are we to say? When the only country most affected by this did something last night surgically, they're the tip of the spear. They're the ones that are going to get speared first, vaporized first, and they're the ones that are like, you know what, I don't care what the rest of you guys say, I'm taking care of this. And they did something surgical. Holy cow. I've never seen anything like it. War is changing. I have to tell you, what Israel did matters. Now, I got on the social media spheres last night, and I just gave a few opinions, and none of them were bloodthirsty by any. But boy, I got to tell you, I am a warmonger and a Jew lover, I found out from a lot of people. I've listened to you for years, and I've always known you were a Jew lover. Holy cow, you haven't listened to me for years then, okay? Or you've just been closeted in your hatred. But what Israel did matters because they didn't wait for the mushroom cloud. They struck not to conquer, but to prevent. Tell me the last time our country even that you can say, I used to say this all the time. Look, we have never been in it for land or oil or anything else. And I don't know if I believe that anymore. We've done a lot of really bad things. Okay? A lot of really bad things. Every country does. But are you telling me that our government, we haven't done a war or two here recently where we haven't had greedy eyes on the wealth of another nation? Where's the greedy eyes on Israel? What did they do? They killed their top scientist and they killed the leaders of their military. And then they took out the installation that was making the bomb. Boy, that's, wow. Isn't that horrible? Let me be really, really clear. That is really good, but it doesn't mean that it's, the Middle East isn't going to spiral out of control. And it doesn't mean our streets in Europe or in America are going to get more peaceful. Okay. It may spiral out of control. And I hope not, but let me quote Thomas Jefferson poorly, but after he stopped our first foreign war with the Barbary pirates, which was Islam, who just were coming on the seas and taking everybody's ship and their stuff, and then they were enslaving or killing any infidel. Because, you're not a Muslim, and if you won't submit, I can either kill you or use you as, a sex slave or some other kind of slave. And he really didn't understand that. And, everybody's like, we got to get out of that war. And so we did. But he said at the end, I just got to warn you. It's our first foreign war, but if we don't understand the ideology that these people have, it will be our last war as well. And I think we are going to find, look at what's happening in Europe. Look what's happening in our own streets with the Palestinian crap. Where do you think that all comes from? If you don't think we're going to eventually have a war with Islam, you are mistaken. And I don't want one because I think it is going to be ugly. But just look at the state of Europe. Now, I don't want to rush into it. I don't want it. I pray that it never happens. But not every preemptive strike is in Iraq. Not every enemy is rational. And not every country has people in it that don't want they don't think like, we think. The Persians think like we think. And they have spent 2 decades slow walking this game, smuggling uranium, building enrichment centrifuges. They have funding proxies. They are slaughtering protesters in their own streets. The difference is now Israel felt the clock was up. And Israel knew if they waited, there'd be no second chance. So the world can criticize all they want. They can lecture all they want. They can threaten resolutions. Israel stood alone, and they didn't do it out of vengeance, but because the alternative was unthinkable. Again, let me say it for the third time. I hate war. I do not want us to get involved in another war. I love peace. But peace doesn't come from pretending evil doesn't exist. You're not being asked to rush the gates. You're being asked, can you just stop holding the gates open for these people? And that's exactly what is happening on our streets, in our universities, in our business, in our government. We are holding the door open every time somebody else comes across our border. Every time you say, I don't want to get rid of those people. We have 8,000 people that we know of that are here, that are Islamists, that are also on the terrorist watch list. 8,000 people here. You remember what 19 did? If you don't think that we're going to be fighting this at some point, because we can't seem to get serious, nobody will even say, I can't tell you how much trouble I'm going to be in for saying Islamists are evil. It's evil. I'm sorry, you're 45, she's 9. Nope, I'm not going to condone that. That's evil. We cannot pretend that evil doesn't exist. And, what happens is, you have to stop it coming. You have to stop it before it gets a bomb. And I hope Israel can do that. And I pray for the people of Israel. I pray for the people in Iran. My gosh, they're on our side. They want these monsters gone. And I was so happy to see how surgical this strike was. I've never seen anything like it. We're going to go to Jason Buttrill here in just a second and get his take on what happened last night. But first, let me tell you about Leaf Filter, our sponsor. If you're a homeowner, you already know. Water damage isn't just a possibility. It's practically a guarantee. And one of the biggest culprits is clogged gutters. Leaves, pine needles, shingle grit, they all build up over time, and they stop water from flowing, and before you know it, you're looking at rotten boards, damaged siding, or even foundation issues. It's not real fun, and it's not cheap to deal with. That's why I recommend Leaf Filter. Their system uses stainless steel micro mesh that attaches right to your existing gutters. It keeps everything out except for water, and once it's installed, that's it. You're done cleaning gutters. No more ladders. No more Saturdays spent scooping black sludge out while hoping you don't fall off the ladder. The installation is fast. The estimate is free. So if you've been putting it off, and you're tired of having to clean your gutters every time you get a storm in your area, now is the time. Protect your home before that next big storm hits. Schedule your free inspection and get up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/glennbeck. That's leaffilter.com/glennbeck. See representative for warranty details. 10 seconds, station ID. This is an amazing thing that happened last night. I welcome Jason Buttrill, this is the best week for you and I just to hang out because, first the week of everything in L.A. and now this. That was astounding. Amazing. What Israel did last night.
This is what we expected when Russia targeted Ukraine. Exactly how this happened. This is what we expected, but Russia's not a modern military. I don't know how many militaries in the world are modern after analyzing what happened last night. What Israel did was amazing. I've never seen this, Glenn. I was looking at this for an hour, but it felt like analyzing war plans that are supposed to go on for an entire week. That's what they did in about 60 minutes, which included over 200 warplanes hitting precision targets. And my military mind was thinking, okay, this is how conventional warfare looks. They're first softening up. They're hitting, because at first there was no reports of hitting the nuclear sites. And I was like, well, they're hitting anti-air capabilities.
Communications are taking out, electricity, doing all that stuff. Yep.
All that stuff. But then we started seeing the precision strikes. Now, just a few of the names. We know some of the nuclear or the nuclear scientists were hit.
Yeah.
But their Iran's chief of staff of the armed forces, basically their chief of staff, taken out within about 60 minutes.
And that one was like somebody had to see him go into his house, right?
Oh, yeah.
They hit these people as they arrived at places. They had to have somebody on the ground saying, he's there, hit him now.
Assets on the ground.
Amazing.
Targeting them.
Amazing.
And then, another one, their central headquarters deputy chief of staff, he's gone. It's not a good time in modern history to be a chief of their IRGC.
Good.
Soleimani was taken out by us a while back. Now the new one, General, his name is awesome, General Salami. So he's not a specific Salami. He's just the General Salami.
General Salami.
Yeah. He's taken out. I mean, all the hardliners
they
that were there.
They haven't taken out Mrs. Pepperoni, have
they? No, Mrs. Pepperoni is still at large.
All right. Okay. Good.
All the people that were around for the original revolution, the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Of 79. They are getting systematically just taken out.
That's great.
It's crazy.
It's my understanding that the mullahs put out an order, everybody stay in your house.
I don't think it's going to help.
Yeah, I know, but they're telling everybody stay in your house because they're afraid the people will rise up because they have been so weakened. And the people hate this regime.
Yeah.
They hate this regime. And the Democrats do everything they can to, prop this regime up. I don't want to go to war. I do not want to fight Israel's war. But wow, what they did last night was phenomenal.
This is Glenn Beck.
And we'll continue that conversation because what was our involvement? I have a few suspicions on that one coming up. When the dollar starts to crack, the people who get hurt first are the ones who did everything right, the savers, the retirees, the families just trying to protect what they've built. That's why I've been talking about gold and silver for years now, and that's why I trust Lear Capital. By the way, can you tell me the price of oil? It went up 9...
It's about 75, up 10%.
10%, okay. Well, it's better than it could have been. The people who have been helping you move a portion into of your savings into physical precious metals, they are the people that can really help you. Look at history. The people that did that, they stored things safely and they were in your control and they rolled over things and just got into assets that they could have on hand. Start having something that will last. I want you to call Lear Capital right now. They'll walk you through every single step. Call them right now. The number is 800-957-GOLD. 800-957-GOLD.
Missed part of the show? Go to the Glenn Beck podcast. You got you covered. Listen anytime at glennbeck.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
So, what was our involvement in the bombing of Iran? Well, I will tell you this. A good negotiator never bluffs. Never. He tells you exactly what, cards he's holding in his hand. You can guess, I guess. You can play that and you can look for his twitchy eye, but he'll tell you what he's going to do. Look, we're going to do this, and I'm going to be in his case, in Donald Trump's case, he said to Iran, you have 60 days. You have 60 days to come to the table and make a deal, and I'm here all the time. I'll take your phone call day and night. And we've sent people over, and we were negotiating with him, and he kept saying the whole time, you got 60 days. And, he kept saying to Benjamin Netanyahu, nope, don't do anything. I'm negotiating with him. Don't. And held Benjamin Netanyahu off on bombing until the end of day 60. And last night, before the bombing, he made a statement, there's still time for them to negotiate. They obviously didn't get that message, didn't call, and Israel launches right after midnight. They start launching an assault on them. And then what does Donald Trump say today? Donald Trump, this is him 15 hours ago. We are committed to a diplomatic resolution to an Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they must first completely give up hopes of obtaining nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Then, just this morning, I gave Iran a chance after chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know or anticipated or were told. And the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. And they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been a great deal of death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter with the next already planned attacks being more brutal come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. That is a good negotiator, quite honestly. He held the enemies of Iran at bay, who were going to do it because it's Israel. And when they feel threatened, they're going to do what they have to do. And I support them in that. But he held them back for 60 days. And on day 61, or the morning of day 61, they go in. And I think Donald Trump knew their plans. I think he was aware of them. I think they ran him by him. I don't think that this was just a setup for him to say, you know what? And then on day 61, I think he actually wanted a deal. This is new. Israeli officials say Trump's approval of the Iran attack. We had a clear U.S. green light, adding reports of Trump restraining Israel. They were planted to deceive while Trump and Netanyahu coordinated the attack in private. I don't think that's true. I think we were absolutely involved. And I don't think that it was meant to deceive. I think if they would have come to the table with a deal, Trump would have said, take it. Benjamin Netanyahu, no. I think he would have. He hates war, hates it.
This, what was really weird was the 24 to 48 hours before all this happened. The very public leaks of the U.S. pulling out diplomatic personnel, putting every embassy on high alert. That seemed very odd to me and very coordinated, with Pete Hegseth going in front of Congress and saying they are now actively going forward towards a nuclear weapon. Everything happening right at that time. At least if we're taking out the deceive stuff, if anything, it was meant to. This is pushing towards a diplomatic deal, and if not, look, you're going to get hit.
The world is not used to. I know this, Stu. How many times has this come to bite people in the ass that work with me, I will negotiate something or I will be talking about something and I will say, because I learned, what is it worth to you? Now, know that. It's not worth a penny more. It's not worth a second more of your time, whatever it is. Know what it is absolutely worth to you. Now, just tell everybody at the table, look, it's only worth this to me. So you have to beat this number, or you have to make my life different because I'm not willing to do anything other than this. And when you know that, it scares the hell out of people, but they don't know how to react. And that's what the rest of the world is dealing with right now. A negotiator like Donald Trump, he tells you, this is what I'm going to do. These are going to be the consequences. This is what's going to happen if we do a deal. And he just states it. You got 60 days to decide. Now, a good negotiator knows that at any time the other side can come to the table, and then you go, great. And a good negotiator knows that somebody could come to the table and then not do a deal, so you better be ready to do whatever it is you said. Because if you don't, this is a problem with most people. When they go to their boss and they're like, you know what? I'm going to need this, otherwise. Okay. Well, what if your boss says, okay, well, no. You going to quit? Because you better, because you have no chance of having any authority at all. No authority. Because the boss will never look at you the same. You have to mean what you say and say what you mean. And the rest of the world has not seen that from a president of the United States, or quite honestly, any politician, for a very long time. Donald Trump says what he means and means what he says when he's negotiating. Guarantee it. I think this is all perfectly logical. We're used to a politician who says, you know, my red line is 60 days. And then 60 days comes and goes. Why do you think Iran didn't pay any attention? Because he's like Obama. He's like all the rest of them. They say this, and then we cross their red line, and they do nothing. If Donald Trump would have said 60 days, and then nothing would have happened after, can you imagine? Everybody would have said, he's got no credibility. Look at that. Look at that. He was always saying, you know, Barack Obama has no red lines that mean anything. He just gave them a red line, and now it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. No, he's just doing what he does.
I think the attempts to deceive, I think that's bad language. That's wrong. I do think, though, this is what I think happened. I think this happened right after the inauguration. I believe that Netanyahu and Trump got together and they said, let's give them an ultimatum. Let's give them 60 days. I am going to push like hell for a diplomatic solution. I will push like hell after anything goes kinetic. But I think they both agreed at that point that after that 60 days,
it's over.
Something will happen.
Yeah, he had to have. Look, if you're negotiating for a house and you know somebody on the other side is, you know, a shark or not really, you know, a decent, you know, person, but you want the house, and so you're negotiating with them, and they're playing this game, and you're like, no, you know, this is it. You know, we can eat around the edges here or there, but, you know, in 20 days, if we don't have a deal, I'm walking from the house. And they just keep dragging it out because they think you're just going to eventually give. What do you do if you're in that situation? You either sign up for, I'm just going to end up paying whatever it is they want because I'll just keep playing this game. Or you say, honey, you know what? We'll do this for 20 days. I've told them, this is it. 20 days. We don't have a deal. We're not doing a deal. So let's go look for some other houses. That's not deceiving the guy on the other end of the table because you're going out to look at other houses. You already told them, look, in 20 days, I'm going to go and find another house. So let's negotiate. But I'm not going to be sitting behind the eight ball. It's not deception when he said 60 days. And then he even said, you don't want to know what's going to happen to you after 60 days. But I'm telling you, you have 60 days to do the deal. He's not deceiving. He is telling them. The most powerful people in the world. We have this problem we had it with Osama bin Laden. We have it with Iran today. The most powerful people in the world say, you know what? I'm going to get an atomic bomb and I'm going to burn Israel in the fires of the Islamic fury. And everybody's like, they're never going to do that. Well, just because you wouldn't do that doesn't mean that one won't. Let's look at the record of that one. Do they have a record of doing things like that? I don't know. Are they throwing gay people off of rooftops because they don't believe in homosexuality? Do they throw battery acid in women's faces because they looked at a man? Do they stone a woman to death but let the man go free if there was a case of an adultery? Yes, they do all of that. So what makes you think that they won't burn Israel in the fires of the Islamic fury? You must take people, especially when they're threatening to kill you, you must take them seriously. Otherwise, you're a moron. That is the problem, honestly, with the world. Everybody is negotiating, and nobody's really telling the truth. And then when a guy who comes in and tells everybody the truth, look, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, he's a madman. No, he wasn't deceiving anybody. He said it. He told everybody out loud, this is what he's going to do. It's like his promises that he's made on the campaign trail. Yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this. And then he comes in. Oh, look what he's doing. Well, yeah, he told you that. I know, but his tariffs are insane. I know, but he told you he was going to do that. You knew he was serious about it, and yet you voted for him. So, I mean, he's going to do it. You can be opposed to it, but just understand he's the president. You're not. He's going to do it. I find it really irresponsible and reprehensible that there were, I guess these were these two Israeli officials that said that in this?
Yeah, it just says Israeli officials.
I find that really reprehensible. Really reprehensible. Here's the president. He tried to negotiate, tried to make peace. He was over in the Middle East. What do you think he was doing over with the UAE and Saudi Arabia and even Syria? What do you think he was doing? He was preparing in case this moment happens, let's not have the entire Middle East turn on us. Okay? Let's not have them turn on Israel. Let's try to lay some foundation here so we don't have the whole Middle East set on fire. And by the way, is anybody in the press willing to recognize, who's not crying bloody murder today? Egypt, the UAE, the Kuwaitis. You don't hear anybody in Saudi Arabia screaming bloody murder. Why? Because they're all thanking Israel. They know who Iran is. They wanted this to happen. They're just not man enough. They don't have the balls to stand up and say it. You know why? Because they're afraid of their own extremist population. That's what you're dealing with in the Middle East. So, I pray hard that we don't go to war. I pray hard for the Persian people in Iran that are friends of ours, and they're friends to freedom. But I hope those mullahs and those clerics and the Ayatollah and all of those people that think that it's cool just to kill people because they don't believe your faith, I hope they burn in the fire of their own Islamic fury. I guarantee you guys, they're not getting any virgins. Well, I mean, hell might just give you 70 really domineering, ugly, fat ass. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how it is. So let's move on, shall we? Let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's Preborn. I don't think most people understand what a woman's really facing when she walks into an abortion clinic. I know I didn't. And then I started listening, started learning, started hearing. There is fear, there is pressure, there's confusion, and far too often loneliness. They feel completely alone. They don't want to make this decision most times, but they don't know what else to do. When that same woman walks into an abortion clinic, she gets an abortion. When she walks into a preborn clinic, Preborn offers her a free ultrasound. And if you're considering this, say, let's just take an ultrasound, see what we have here. And when mom hears the heartbeat and sees the baby, she's like, oh my gosh. And it changes her, doubles the chance she chooses life. The only remaining obstacle 9 out of 10 times is, I can't afford diapers. It's something usually really small. One woman was like, I can't get to work. I don't have a car. The clinic was like, how about if we get you a car? If we could get you a car, it would take you to work? And they found somebody to donate, a used car. And she was like, she just cried and cried and cried. That was it. I just have to go to work. I can't take the bus because I already have 2 kids, and I can't do it with 3. One of them. His problem was I need a 3 baby carriage carrier. You know what I mean? I have 3 babies, and I need something to do all 3 of them. And they provided that, and she's like, okay, then I want to have this child. It's crazy. Affirm life. Choose life. May I suggest now you go to preborn.com, preborn.com/Beck, and make a donation of anything that you can. $28 or $29 is the price of an ultrasound, doubles the chances mom's going to choose life. Hit pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Beck, sponsored by Preborn.
Glenn Beck.
Have you ever stopped to think about how your investments might quietly support policies that conflict with traditional American values? It's surprising, but many standard investment portfolios actually include companies actively opposing conservative principles. And without realizing it, investors' hard-earned dollars could be funding causes they fundamentally disagree with, and even undermining the values that they hold dear. If you're anything like me, that idea can be pretty frustrating and honestly a scary part. I mean, like, you could be part of the problem. You don't want to be part of the problem. Well, investors can use strategic investment choices and proactive shareholder advocacy to make a real difference. And we've talked about this before. It's why Constitution Wealth exists. Their advisors don't just understand conservative values, they actively respect and uphold what matters to you. Unlike typical financial firms, Constitution Wealth intentionally screens companies based on their alignment with conservative American principles, making sure your investments genuinely reflect your beliefs and your priorities. By partnering with Constitution Wealth, you join a growing movement of Americans who are committed to aligning their financial decisions with their core values. Don't wait until your investments have unintentionally funded the very things you work so hard to protect against. It's your money, it's your values, and your future. Take back control today. Take control of the future of America and everything it stands for. It's constitutionwealth.com/Blaze. Get a free consultation today. constitutionwealth.com/Blaze.
I think, America, you need to wake up to the fact, and I'm not beating the drums of war. I am warning you. Pray for peace, but prepare for fire. You look at all of the things that are happening all over the Western world right now, the streets that are on fire, and it's 9 out of 10 Islam, communism, anarchists, or Palestinian stuff. You see the Europe. Where did all these refugees come from? Where? Syria? All of those came from Syria? The United States took on 400,000 people in World War II. 400,000 refugees. You have how many millions around the world? They're all from Syria? Bullcrap. This was an invasion. And if you think that we're not going to eventually fight in our own streets, you're crazy. Now, the best thing we can do is deport, send people back, restore the rule of law, make sure we know who is here, and then we don't have to fight a war. But that's not what the left wants. That's not what the left is preparing.
This is Glenn Beck.